Okay, so feel free to do each section on the quiz one part at a time as I go through the examples. For example, I'm going to do a question similar to section 1. So if you want to follow along with what I'm doing for the example and then just do section 1, that would be fine. And then watch my example for section 2, pause it, do section 2 on the quiz, and so on and so forth. So for section 1, which is adding and subtracting polynomials, I'm going to do a subtracting one just because I think those are a little bit trickier. So let's say, for example, you had something that looked like this. And notice it's subtraction. Subtraction is just a pinch trickier than addition. Okay, so if you recall, whenever it's subtraction, what I do personally is I change it to addition, and then I just go into the second polynomial and I change all the signs. So if they were negative, I make them positive and vice versa. Now it's just a regular addition problem, which those are easy. All you have to do is combine your like terms. Start from whichever term has the greatest exponent. So if you look here, you'll notice that 5 is my biggest exponent. So I'm going to start with this. I'm going to combine this guy with, if I look in the other polynomial, I have another n to the 5th. So I'm going to combine those. So negative 6 plus 8 is 2. So I have 2n to the 5th. Now my next biggest exponent is the 4. Let me do that a different color for you. So I'm going to combine, oh, gotta pause it, hold on. Okay, so like I was saying, I can combine this term with this term in the other polynomial since they're both n to the 4ths. They're what you call like terms. So negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2 n to the 4th. And then I can combine, ooh, gosh, actually there isn't anything else I can combine because that's a 3 and that is 3n. If I'm going to keep with this idea of going in what we call standard form from biggest exponent to smallest, that means I'm going to need to write him next. So I'm going to write plus 3n. And then last but not least, I would put this guy because he doesn't have any variables. And since it's a positive 3, I write plus 3. And so this is our final answer. All right, so if you want, go ahead and pause the video and do section 1 on your quiz. Okay, section 2. Section 2 is where you're just what they refer to as simplifying, but I call it multiplying polynomials. So just to kind of give you an example, say you had something that looked like this. So it's pretty easy. You just distribute this term to everything in the parentheses. So first I distribute him to the 4, so negative 6 times 4. And then if you remember, there's like a little imaginary 1 there, so you add those. N to the 2 and n to the 1 gives you n to the 3. And then distribute him to this guy. Negative 6 times negative 9 is positive 54. And then I can't forget about the n to the 2. So you're done. So that's all you're doing in section 2. You're just multiplying. You can go ahead and pause if you'd like and do section 2 on the quiz, and then hit play again when you're ready for section 3. Okay, section 3. Section 3 is finding the greatest common factor. So you don't actually have to factor it out completely. They just want to know what is the greatest common factor. So say, for example, they give you something that looks like this. And you want to figure out what the greatest common factor would be for all 3 of these terms. So take them apart one at a time. So let's start with the first guy. Can I break 5 up into anything smaller other than 5 times 1? Don't think so. No, I think that's it. So just 5. And then, of course, I need to write out my 3 x's. And now let's mess with this guy, 25x squared. So the 25, that's a pretty big number, so I'm going to do that off to the side here. The 2 numbers that I could multiply together to get 25 are 5 times 5. And since those can't get any smaller, we stop there. So 5 times 5. And then there's 2 x's. Okay, and last but not least, we'll take care of that guy. 45x. And again, that's a big number, so I'm going to do it off to the side here. I could do 9 times 5. And then the 9 could get broken down even further. I could make that a 3 times 3. So for 45, I have 3, 3, and 5. 3, 3, 5, and then I have 1x. All right, so I'm just looking to see what they have in common. Whatever they have in common, that's their greatest common factor. So it looks like they all have a 5. They all have an x. I think that's it. So the greatest common factor for this trinomial right here is 5x. Done. So you can go ahead and pause, and then when you're ready, move on to section 4. All right, section 4. And this is your last section because the last 2 questions are just review stuff. In section 4, you're actually going to factor. So not only are you going to find the greatest common factor like you did in section 3, but then you're actually going to factor it out. So say you had something that looked like this. Okay, so you have that binomial. First, we need to figure out the greatest common factor. We need to figure out what they have in common. So the number 24, I'm going to kind of do this off to the side here. I could do 6 times 4. That would work. What else could I do? Well, the 6 I can break down into 3 times 2. The 4 I could break down into 2 times 2. So, and I can't do anything with those. So my factors for 24 are 3, 2, 2, and 2. And then it has 3 ends. 1, 2, 3. All right. Now for my 6n squared, 6. Let me do it off to the side here. 3 times 2. I can't get any smaller than that. So 3 times 2 is 6, and then 2 ends. All right, so the stuff they have in common would be that. Oh, and they also have a couple ends. Ooh, sugar. My bad. Sorry if I'm confusing you. Here, let me rewrite that so it's not so messed up. 1, 2, 3, and this had 2. All right, so then they have an n in common and another n. All right, so I think that's everything. So the greatest common factor, I take the 3 and the 2 to get 6, and then I have 2 n's, so 6n squared. Whatever's left goes in the parentheses. I have, for the top term, I have 2 2's, which gives me 4, and the n, And then in the bottom, I have nothing left. Since it was a minus, I'm going to put minus, and since there's nothing left, I just put a 1 there as a placeholder. And that's it. That's my answer. All right, and you are free to do section 5 after you're done with this section on your own.